Hey guys, welcome to the show. Today we are finally going to put our 2 cents in on Thor, Love and Thunder.
Oh god. So this is Thor 4. Oh,
This is Thor 4. Now and this is Chris Hemsworth. He's the first one out of the original Avengers, really out of any Avengers, to have four solo films.
Yeah, true.
And you know,
I thought
good for him.
Chris Evans, but no. Yeah.
Good for him.
Or Iron Man.
Kind of makes up for you know, Dark World, but it's okay.
By the way, you do not hate Dark World. Look, guys, get off the back of Dark World. When we talk about this movie, you don't forget the Dark World even happened.
You know what? How about this? Next show, next film, next time we start recording, you don't hate Thor: The Dark World. That's gonna come up.
We probably should have done that leading up to this.
You're right, but you know what? Hey, it's okay. So let me just talk about this right now. The Thor: Love and Thunder recently premiered. This is Taika Waititi's second go-around as director for the Thor franchise. Obviously, he started with Ragnarok, which was really well received. I think it's one of the best Thor films.
It absolutely is.
You know, that's out there. And this one had, you know, when I saw the trailers, I was not sold. I think you and I both talked about it. When we saw the original teaser, we weren't really sold on it.
Yeah, because they didn't really give you much. You didn't really know where they were going. And it kind of talked about gods and stuff. And it was like, okay, well, that's interesting. But, like, really, what is this movie about besides, you know, the tease for Mighty Thor?
Right. And when we saw the official trailer, it was a little bit better.
Yeah.
And then we were a little bit more pumped.
Mm-hmm.
And
man, those guys who make trailers, man, they are geniuses in how they make a movie seem way better than what it actually is.
And I was about to say that. Now, usually you get pretty much the whole movie in the trailer.
Yeah.
Halloween Kills. But this time, you know, they give you different tones of the film.
Yes.
To where you're expecting this.
Feels like Suicide Squad.
And it is completely something else.
Yep.
And there's going to be some, you know, things that you're going to like, things you're going to hate. If you've never seen any of our reviews, we try to break down as much as possible, or we give you the goods and the bads for us.
Right.
And then, you know, we
So you ready to talk about those goods?
we talked about that. All right. I won't get into the box office until after the show. So, Terrence, why don't you tell me the goods of Thor: Love and Thunder?
The goods of this movie. Look, Chris Hemsworth's in this movie. Natalie Portman's in this movie. Look, I don't hate this movie. But it left me reaching a lot about the things I really loved about this movie. I will say that, once again, Chris Hemsworth's comedy, spot on. Absolutely spot on. I think that anytime they give him something where he can kind of be a little goofy, he nails it every time. We were just talking about it before we started recording, when they were like, you look into the eyes of someone you love, and he does the whole lean in. Amazing timing. It's like, it was so good. Couldn't stop laughing.
And he's got that face. There's just something about, because, you know, he's got these blue eyes, and he's got this, you know, real masculine but kind of goofy looking face, you know. And when he does that, it is so hilarious.
When they get to action in this film, I was very happy with the action in it. Even though I feel like they distracted sometimes with some of the action with comedy. But, you know, the fight scenes were okay. They really oversold. I mean, at this point, Thor is kind of OP. I mean, basically, I feel like he should have never lost to the Hulk. But I guess he really didn't lose to the Hulk in that time. No, he really did. He threw the hammer and held the whole down. It was to be continued fight. But I feel like
from work.
I mean, damn, at this point, Chris Hemsworth, or Thor at this point, is the next Thanos, because he is that strong, and he really comes off as that strong in this movie. So I did like the fight scenes. I like Chris Hemsworth. Once again, he just keeps elevating Thor as a character. I wasn't even a big fan of Thor, not from the first movie or in the comic books. It was just always kind of boring to me. But Chris Hemsworth has done a great job in making the character likable. Natalie Portman did a great job returning back to. I really love how they explained her coming back. This is a spoiler-heavy review, guys, so spoiler alert. With her coming back in here. Yeah, there it is. With her coming back into the fold, or back into the MCU, they explained it away as that, you know, I love the fact that they explained it, they broke up. And they didn't have to come up with some goofy reason or why she wasn't there anymore. And it was like they literally went through a whole transition of them.
Okay, what did you think about that? I thought that kind of like, it was good to see, but then it was like no strings attached. or one of those romantic comedy when Harry Met Sally, those type of comedy.
This is Taika Waititi right here. It's like you knew he was gonna probably make it as funny as he possibly could.
Right. But I'm saying the cutaway to show all this with the narration.
It came out of nowhere, what
did you think about that?
I feel like the placement of the explanation for where they were at in the movie came a little bit like, you probably could have started the movie with this,
right?
And that's when we talk about the bads, there's some things I'm really upset about. But I did find it funny. I love the explanation. I love Natalie Portman being in this movie and how they make her Thor. And if you ever read the comic books, when she does become Mighty Thor in the comic books, it's because she has cancer, and every time she changes into Mighty Thor, when she becomes Thor, that's the only way that her cancer is gone, and when she reverts back, then her cancer returns. They changed it a little bit to saying like, hey, she's still dying regardless, and this is kind of
speeding up the process in a way.
So, and it was okay because I know Natalie Portman wasn't going to come back again. You basically probably had to pay her like tons and like truckloads of money to get her to come back to do this one. But I was happy to see her back. I was happy to see her on screen. I think they worked well together. I'm trying not to say any of the bads. So I was really happy to see Russell Crowe in here because for some particular reason I forgot from the trailers
I was not.
He was not. I was the over Italian accent that he did for Zeus was a little annoying.
It was a little exaggerated. You know what it reminded me of?
But I was happy to see him on screen.
Okay, you know what? It's in the bads. Okay. I won't say.
I was happy to see him on screens. I was happy to just like, hey, all of the gods. They kind of dealt with the fact that like, hey, all the gods that we ever talk about are all real within the MCU. So I mean, spoiler alert again. At the end, they mentioned that Hercules. They showed him though. And I was like,
why did Ted Lasso?
Oh, is that where he's from? And I was like, I didn't recognize the actor, and I was like, why would they go ahead and reveal who it is right now? Why didn't they just say like they did with
Blade in Eternals,
or in Guardians of the Galaxy, with Adam Warlock? And it's like you didn't show me the character. It was like they kind of committed to this, so I assume that they've already in the works of this particular movie. And I'm struggling right here for goods right now. Christian Bale. I'm sorry. There you go. How did I forget that? Christian Bale as our villain, as Gore the Butcher, God Butcher. Yeah, the God Butcher. Did a great job. He did a really, really great job. For all the people that still keep talking about that Marvel's villains don't mean anything or the throwaway villains, thinking back to the Dark World. It's like this is another example of when you cast well for a villain and you spend a little bit of time on the backstory that you can make it make sense for why that villain's doing what he's doing. All right, and I absolutely get it. And Christian Bale, great, even though we killed you off in this movie again. So it's like I don't get to see you kind of continue on in the MCU. But I was glad to see him again back in a superhero film. So I was very, very happy about that. And I also heard like a thing that said he was open to going back and playing Batman again.
Batman 4, The Dark Knight Beyond.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That would be cool.
So that would be ending my goods. All right, Manny, your goods.
All right, my goods is okay. Well, let's just start with Chris Hemsworth.
Okay.
You started with him, and I'm agree 100% with that.
Yes.
I mean, you see this gradual progression of how Thor has been from the first one to now.
Right.
Now, for me, you have Kenneth Branagh, who is he's really into theater, and he has done some really good films. Much Ado About Nothing, a lot of Shakespeare. He's right now, he just did Death on the Nile, playing the detective, and all that. So he directed the first Thor. So you can see how his experience as far as the theater and Shakespeare translated very well to Thor. Mm-hmm. You can see how he did that. So, and then having him as a fish out of water type of thing when it comes to when he got to Earth and all of that. Right. So you see that, kind of like that naiveness in the original, and it starts gradually, progressing. Right. Once he gets to Avengers, and obviously hanging out with freaking Downey and all them, once he gets that kind of camaraderie and family in a way, with the Avengers and everybody, he really does start loosening up a little bit. So by the time he gets to Ragnarok, it's hilarious. He's a lot more comfortable in the role. Now, obviously, this takes place after Endgame,
right?
So what hasn't he lost? I mean, he's lost pretty much everything, right? And Guardians obviously bring a lot of that camaraderie back to him, so you can see that how good he felt after Endgame,
Right.
You know, and you see how much he's progressed, but now he's missing something, and
Yes.
obviously it's Jane. So that progression was great.
Thor, they're just like, hey, we go through a little montage about how you lost everybody, and then at the end of this movie, you lose somebody again.
Yeah,
I was like,
but gain some. Well, we'll get into that.
I was like,
All right.
poor Thor.
Okay, so when I was looking at it, though, in this version of Thor, it reminded me of the version that he, you know, a little bit of how he was in What If.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
it was like Party Thor.
Yeah, there was a little bit of similarities there, here
Right.
and there on that. But there is a certain humor about him that whether it's dry or slapstick or whatever, that he's just great.
Right.
Damn, I want to go into bads too, and I can't.
I know, you can't go to bad.
All right.
This is a good section.
I'm gonna leave it at that. You know, Chris Hemsworth was freaking amazing.
How'd you feel
in this
about
movie.
Valkyrie?
He's awesome. She looked bored.
All right,
She
so
was
we're
like,
gonna leave
when
that
is-
to bad.
Yeah, we'll leave that to bad.
I mean, the only thing I
And when
can
does
say-
Creed 3 start? That's
The
what I
only
want
thing I
to
can think about with Valkyrie in it is that they didn't forget her, because there was a good opportunity, especially after Endgame, where they left on a shelf for a while and then had her show back up at the end.
Okay, I don't want to get into the bads.
I know
dude.
we're not there. And I was like, so in this one, they at least brought her along. They gave her some point to the movie, but really it kind of felt like the what was his trio friends from Dark World.
I don't remember.
But yeah, it felt like that. Like she was replacing Lady Sif, who was in this movie.
It was like she was replacing Lady Sif, and Korg was replacing Hulk from Ragnarok.
Yeah, basically.
You know. Anyway.
But she was in it, so I guess.
And
that's a good
Natalie
point to
Portman was replacing Loki.
There
if
you
you
go.
want to say that. All right.
There you go.
So anyway, so let's go with Natalie Portman. Okay, so she was fantastic. You know, I know that there have been a lot of negative chatter about how she portrayed the character. And I was like, dude, she just learned how to be Thor. Like, she's gonna be new to this, and there's a childlike innocence and naiveness too with her that I kind of enjoyed. It was cute. Some of it was unnecessary.
We'll talk about it in that.
We'll talk that in that. Some of it was unnecessary, but overall, I thought that she was pretty freaking good. And damn, she looked good as hell at that. But
see, women, work out. You don't have to be all dainty. Work out.
But anyway, so she was a really a breath of fresh air to see her in it. Christian Bale was fantastic, absolutely phenomenal. He was basically the machinist with eye contact.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Did I say that right? That was the name of the movie, right?
Machinist,
The machinist with eye contact, with contact lenses.
Oh my god, it's like he lost so much weight. I was like, how does his health, where he keeps gaining and losing weight like this?
Yeah, but yeah, he was great. From a visual standpoint, I thought that the film was, it was a little too dark at times, but it was really, it was a great looking film. I can't wait to see it when it's in 4K. But it was a visually, I thought it was visually stunning.
Yeah,
especially when it turned into Sin City.
Yeah.
Like when it turned into Sin City at the end, like more or less towards the end. The way the pictures and the colors and all, it looked great. I thought it looked great.
I think what Taika Waititi's done since Ragnarok has made it like this little colorful spectrum.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like with Ragnarok, it was kind of like bright in colors, and Love and Thunder is bright in colors and stuff like that. So it made sense. So that's kind of what now the Thor aesthetic is to be bright and colorful.
So, I mean, obviously, then you go with, the music is always great to hear. You hear some,
he pulled a James Gunn where it's like, hey, let me just put a soundtrack together of a bunch of songs you like. That's and what's funny is that Carla actually said that too. She was like, hey, it's like, I really love the soundtrack. It's like, yeah, because it's songs you know. That's why you love the soundtrack. It's a bunch of songs you know.
It's basically a Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack, but...
oh, God, that's what I want to say.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
That's what I want to say.
I know. It was... It was really hard for me to like this movie. I'm kind of stretching on a lot of things that as far as the performances, because the performances I thought, they were pretty good, and I love Chris Hemsworth than anything. So
yes.
So the actors were fine. The colors and the film and how it's shot, it was fine.
Yes.
I'm ready to get into bads. You ready to get into bads?
Let's go ahead and move on to the bads.
All right, let's get into the bads. Okay, the bads for me on this was a mess. Like, as far as a plot and everything, I didn't understand. Like, what are we talking about? Like, you have a subplot with the with the whole dynamic as far as him catching up with Jane all of these years, and you got the romantic breakup comedy.
They should have led with that
there.
at the beginning of the movie.
Right.
That should not. And what's funny is that they had to start this movie because they left us at the end of Endgame saying like, oh, he's gonna go on a journey with the Guardians, and then like Taika was like, oh crap, I gotta figure that out before I can start my movie.
Yeah. What was the previous? Okay, well, Endgame was the last.
Yeah.
Did Endgame have a post credit? No, right?
No, because it was because Tony had died and everything, so
Okay.
they wanted to leave it there.
Yeah. You know, in all honesty, I think that that Thor scene with Jane approaching the hammer, that whole thing should have probably been a post credit scene. You know, so that way you can start it like what you said. You can start it like right then and there. But
Yeah.
anyway.
Oh,
all right.
okay. Yeah, but they probably didn't know Natalie.
No,
was gonna
obviously
come back
not.
for this
I know.
movie,
I know.
so
I'm
it's
just
like-
saying, like, you know, I'm just throwing it out there. But anyway, all right. So it really was. But you had this subplot with the romantic side, the romantic comedy, the romantic breakup side, and then you actually had the real plot, which is gore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which I honestly think that, you know, you really don't need so many. You really should have that main focus. And because it's such a serious threat, nobody's taking anything really seriously. And any opportunities to take it seriously, there's a joke in there or something, some kind of levity.
Too much.
Too
comedy.
many times. The levity and all of that.
Everybody had to tell a joke.
Exactly.
And what's funny that with the Avengers films, people used to talk about that all the time. It's like everybody's dropping these little quick one-liners all the time.
But you can get away with that with Paul Rudd or with Robert Downey. You can
And
get
it's
away
like,
with that.
You set up characters.
You can't do that with Natalie Portman, dude. You cannot do that with Tessa Thompson.
And then now everybody's telling a joke. You got Korg telling jokes. You got Thor telling jokes. You got everybody's a damn comedian in this.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I didn't need that. It was funny. It was like, okay, cool. Korg's gonna tell a couple jokes when he's telling the story. I was cool with the narration.
Yeah, it was okay.
I was great. I'm absolutely great with Chris Hemsworth telling jokes, but my two straight characters needed to be straight characters. They need to be straight characters. It's like now I have a hard time taking them serious. So when people have the problem with Natalie Portman talking about like she wasn't being like she just became Thor, so she might be a little goofy about it. I was fine with her being a little goofy about it or like a little bit noobish or noobish. But I don't need her like let's make one-liner jokes, and so it's like so.
What my catchphrase?
Yeah, it's like
the catchphrase thing. I didn't need that. I didn't need that part.
Just be all right. Just be Thor at this point.
How come nobody said it's hammer time? That's
they should have made that
I
one.
would've loved that
Taika
one.
Waititi probably didn't hear that one, and because I bet you would have been in this movie. One of the things I didn't like, going back to the beginning, was the Guardians of the Galaxy scene. Like I said, they felt like, or he felt that like, hey, I gotta tie up this loose thread. And I don't know.
But I get that. I mean, that's because they were as Guardians of the Galaxy. Remember?
It took too long. It took absolutely too. I would have been better off if they had just skipped it and then just said, "Oh yeah, well, my time with the Guardians, and now I'm here back on in Asgard." And it's like maybe we'll touch on that in another movie. It's a story for another day, and we'll talk. And then just go back to it later in the next Guardian. Then show me the in between. It's not like Marvel's never skipped over stuff and then retouched back on it in previous movies. They could have touched back up on what he did with the Guardians of the Galaxy in the next Guardians of the Galaxy. They just skipped that because I wasted like 20 minutes of the movie trying to figure out how to get him to the actual point of this movie.
Okay, now if there was there was a serious battle in the beginning that needed.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I'm okay with that. It got a little goofy too.
But yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna say. But it like you just saw Drax standing there doing nothing. Like he was pointless to do nothing there. You know, I mean,
you paid them, all of them, to come back to do that.
How about this? They had to sit in hours of makeup.
Yeah.
For that, like no, like that. You know, you brought Bradley Cooper back. Yeah. You brought there was just
they didn't do I Am Groot 100 times.
If they were going to be the back, then they needed a bigger part, and they needed a little bit more to do.
We could have skipped over where he was at with the Guardians until Guardians of the Galaxy.
Either skip it or make it longer and let them be a part of the plot. One of the two.
I'd
One
prefer
of the
them
two.
not be in this movie.
One of the two.
I
Okay.
prefer them not to be in this movie. I just think he should have talked to Marvel. I can just like, hey, where was he at with the Guardians of the Galaxy? Oh, we'll touch on it in Guardians.
So-
and a post-credit scene could have been like, hey, before this happened, you know, him still with the Guardians and will be addressed in Guardians 3, whatever, and Guardians 3. So I really didn't like that. We talked about the fact that it was too jokey going forward.
I didn't care for that. You said that you liked to see Russell Crowe back.
So
I did not like to see Russell Crowe because he reminded me it was too Monty Python-ish.
for his
It was too freaking, it was too Dom DeLuise, History of the World Part 1.
Okay, I'll give you Dom DeLuise.
Okay,
it was definitely Dom DeLuise.
It was too much of that, and I just didn't like. That was just one thing I just did not care for.
I found it funny, and I felt like, okay, it didn't go on for too long, and I was okay with it. Because it felt like it opened up another part of like the universe as far as like the gods. So I felt like it opened up some more stuff with that, and we got to see, just like when we got to see Kurt Russell playing Ego, and I was like, okay, cool. It's a well-known actor that I wouldn't have expected to be in this movie, and I totally forgot from the trailers that he was in it. So when I saw it, I was like, oh hey, you're in this. All right, cool. Yes. Very much Dom DeLuise, his accent, and basically how he portrayed the character itself. But I had a little fun with it. I was okay with it. Though.
What about the new Asgard and the actors and Matt Damon coming back, Luke Hemsworth coming back?
I was okay with that.
And Melissa McCarthy coming back.
I was okay with that, but I was like, do we have to do this every movie now?
Yes.
Do we have to do this every movie now?
I didn't care for that, man.
I was like, at least when they did it the first time with Loki, it had a point.
Right.
This is like, okay, cool. We're just going to tell the story of anything that happens in a play all the damn time.
Yeah, and Tessa Thompson, doing Coke commercials or whatever commercials she was doing.
They had to do something because they established her as the king of Asgard. They had to do something with her character. That's why I didn't expect her to go on this trip. So I was like, okay, cool. They're actually gonna take her out of there and have her go on the trip. I was fine with that. But it's like they dwelled on things for far too long. For a 2-hour movie, I felt like there were some things that definitely, and I know I always talk about it, I was like, you could have made this movie shorter. You definitely could have made this movie shorter. This could have been an 1.5-hour movie, because a lot of things, like all of the Asgard stuff, and I know they kind of felt like they had to show, well, okay, it's one thing to call her just the ruler of Asgard, but we kind of have to show what it's like to be daily life of but that's her own movie. This is a Thor movie. We don't have to explain it. We just have to say, hey, I'm here. Hey, I'm going to join you on this trip this time, or on this quest. I'm going to join you on this quest. The Guardians don't need to be there. A lot of the things, maybe we could streamline the beginning of the movie when they're explaining why Gore has the issue with the gods. And I'm like, really, you only got an issue with one god. And I was like, did you have to murder every god? It's like, you want to have a conversation with some gods before?
And you took care of him already.
Yeah, it was like you already got rid of that god. It's like, maybe talk to some other gods and kind of see how they feel before we slice them up. Maybe the explanation could be every god I meet, turns out to be the same, because he ain't really giving no gods any chance. He's just kind of like, show up, I got the sword. And by the way, what if this sword, this whole MacGuffin of a sword thing become a thing where like, oh, he has a sword that can kill us all. How come in 3 other movies nobody decided to get this damn sword that can kill gods?
Or how about get this sword to kill Thanos?
Yeah. Another reason we could have killed Thanos. But this is like the ultimate nullifier that Marvel has that can kill gods, where like that's basically what it was, where like it's this weird shaped object thing, and somehow you press it, it destroys everything, and it's called the ultimate nullifier. It's the dumbest thing in the world, and it's introduced in Marvel Comics, and it's literally how they get rid of all like their universe creatures and characters and stuff like that using the ultimate nullifier. It's what can kill Galactus, and it's that type of stuff. And when I saw this sword, I was like, I really felt like that. It's dumb in the comic books, but at least they're comic books.
So it was,
and in this, it's dumb.
A Darksaber.
It's a Darksaber. It's just some shit we brought up to say that it's better than anything else, and I'm like, all right, that's cool. But
it's like in a Fast and the Furious, like when, I need God's eye. Oh, I need this. Yeah. Oh, I need that. Oh, wait, I need, yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like I don't want to whine and rant I'm not done. You continue on, sir.
I think the whole gag on the weapons being the ex-girlfriends and new girlfriends and Stormbreaker being jealous.
It was like,
and it was funny, but it went.
But they kept doing it too much.
on.
Yeah.
Like it was too much. Like, dude, okay,
But this
dude,
is
come
Taika
on.
Waititi, and for something like that, I even said to myself, and I was like, okay, this is him. This is literally what he would do in his own movie. So I kind of was like,
The more
I knew I was
it,
gonna get something like.
the more I saw it was the more I saw it, the more I realized I do not want him touching Star Wars.
Yes, no, I don't want unless
And
it's,
he is.
unless
it sucks,
unless
but-
he gets something like droids. If they make him like remember the old cartoon droids?
Yeah, droids, yeah.
If they have him make a live action one, or maybe if they redo the cartoon and have him make make a cartoon movie of it instead of the actual TV show. If they give him something like that, I think that'd probably be funny. I think, or if he made it live action, I think it would be okay, because now we're just kind of, because the droids can't really talk, so it's all got to be comic effect, and that's what they've done with the droids anyway. From C-3PO to R2 to BB-8 to what's the little one with the little cone face and the little rollerball thing and that thing. But anyway, so all the droids, I can't remember all the droids' names, but it's like that would work better for him to do something like that.
Well, yeah, but that whole gag thing it went on too long. It was too much.
It did go on too long, and then he basically
he
still leaves Stormbreaker. He ends up giving Stormbreaker to the little girl, and he takes back Mjolnir.
Yeah.
And it's like, so it's like, it's me and you. Oh wait, hold on. I'm giving you to the little girl. Mjolnir, we're back. We're back together. It's like, so as long as the gag ran on, it was supposed to be like, hey, you know what? I know I was always obsessed with this hammer, but it's me and you, Stormbreaker. At the last minute, I'm gonna give you away and just continue to move on. So the gag didn't even play out right.
Okay, so how do you feel about it basically turning into Logan at the end there?
Yeah, it kind of did, right?
Yes.
It kind of did. It kind of did.
Because now I don't know how
there's not gonna be a Thor 5. I feel like there's not gonna.
Well, he'll be back, obviously.
He'll be back, but
Thor will return.
Yeah, will return, but he'll return in somebody else's movie. But he will not. I can't see them making. What can you do after this? Oh wait, there's the Hercules thing.
Yeah, there's that.
I'm not sure if I want to see that. I thought it was cool, but I'm not sure if I really want to see that.
But now, how about the child dynamic? Now it could potentially.
Last of Us.
Yeah, pretty much. But it can work either way.
Yeah.
It could work or it could not work.
But this movie's already like doing great numbers, so I mean, there's probably gonna be a Thor 5.
And I'm glad that you brought that up.
It's gonna be a Thor 5. Is it like 300 million already so far?
143 million domestically, 159 million overseas for a 302 million global bow opening weekend.
Yeah, see, that's crazy. This thing's definitely gonna get a sequel made.
30th. How about this one? 30th opening weekend of all time, 12th opening weekend among Marvel films, 4th opening weekend of the pandemic era.
Is this the highest grossing Thor movie though?
No.
Doesn't say that.
No.
Okay.
I don't
think Ragnarok did more.
Okay, here we go. Hold on one second. 2 times the 2011's Thor gross of 65 million in 3 days. 66% above Dark World of 85 million, and only 16% above Thor Ragnarok, which opened at 122.
Which is still great coming out of the pandemic.
No, it is. It is
still great coming out of the pandemic. But once again,
I mean, Ragnarok without the pandemic.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I mean, it's
and that was right before Infinity War. That's the movie that opened
yeah.
to Infinity War.
So I mean, we're definitely seeing a Thor 5. If they don't do a Thor 5, I'm not gonna be sad about it. I mean, the Hercules thing kind of interested me because I always thought about it. It's like, oh hey, they always talk about like the Asgardians, and it's like, but they never talk about like Hercules is a real character out there in not the MCU, but in Marvel comics, he's a real character out there.
He is.
So
and they actually have beef. They fight, but then they reconcile, and then he becomes part of the Avengers.
So I mean, I'm kind of curious of what they may do with it, but if they don't make a Thor 5, it's not gonna kill me.
Okay, so I saw the tone of the trailer much better. Yes. Like if they would have stuck to that and gave it light humor, I thought it would have been perfect.
They just had to dial back on it.
This one was way too much, and yeah. So hopefully they get it better.
This is one of those things where they were like, they put some restraints on him in Ragnarok on Taika Waititi. They put some restraints on him and
it worked.
Right, but then it did so well. They were like, do whatever you want to do.
And it didn't work. I mean, it worked as far as box office.
Yeah.
It worked, but
I felt like
but when you're coming out of it, like it's just not. It's not.
I felt like going into it, it was like people were in love with the character and Chris Hemsworth as Thor, that they were going to see the movie regardless. And that first weekend reflected how it hangs on going forward. Now that people are kind of split on this movie, will definitely show how much people really enjoyed this movie.
Okay.
So since people are split, if we start to see huge declines going forward, then we're going to know that, hey, this not everybody's backing this. But I felt the first box office weekend was going to be big for this.
Okay, I have two questions for you. One is, where do you see this? You know what? No, that's not the question. Here's my question.
Okay.
The first question is, did this movie not have anything to do with the multiverse storyline affect you at all?
This is it didn't affect me that it didn't have anything to do with that, because I felt like they're introducing too much stuff for the multiverse to where, like, unless you're gonna pop it in as a post-credit scene, that it's getting overly confusing as far as how the multiverse is working. So I was fine with it. And I know I saw some people that are saying like, hey, this movie had nothing to do with anything else that's going on in the MCU, and it kind of happened by itself. It didn't even happen. It didn't even have to happen where it took place in the timeline. This movie could have been anytime. It could have been like the next day after Endgame, as opposed to like saying some time had passed, and it didn't do anything for the MCU. I don't care that much about it. Like I said, it's already getting confusing with where they're going in the MCU as far as like this whole time in multiverse. But
the Loki aspect, that's his brother, so there is a tie.
I would have liked the post credit scene that kind of dealt with it. I didn't need the movie to deal with it.
Okay, that's fair. And if you're going to, because the Hercules mid-credit scene, it was in mid-credit.
Yeah, because
then after that you could have had the Jane Valhalla scene, and then after that you could have had something to tie to Loki.
I mean, but now we got like three post-credit scenes.
Guardians has three. Guardians have three.
And I'm like, damn, there's a whole other movie after the movie's over.
So
stop watching the movie to watch another fucking movie after this, and I'm like, jeez, this movie already. It's Lord of the Rings already in the movie.
I agree with you, but I think that from a post-credit standpoint, any kind of tie to what's going on would have been great. All right. Second question is, after watching this and after looking at basically everything in Phase 4, which goes Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Spider-Man, No Way Home, Doctor Strange, Eternals, and now Thor. Where do you, or how do you feel about Phase 4 right now?
I'm confused. That's all. Like I said, because of all of the different entry points for how this multiverse is working. At least in the original phases, when we have a big bad, we're working towards him, we're collecting these stones, and we're doing this, we're doing that, and so on and so forth. I knew where we were going. I don't know where we're going. I'm not even sure if Kang is the ultimate villain for this multiverse. I just feel like he's the ultimate villain for the Loki show. He's not the ultimate villain for...
Well, he's the villain in Ant-Man.
Because
Ant-Man 3.
All right, cool. So, I mean, they need to give me more guidance as far as what's going on. And so some movies are taking place to talk about things that maybe, but I still don't know where are we trying to get to. So when this multiverse... So in my brain, I'm thinking, okay, multiverse, Secret Wars. Are we trying to get to Secret Wars?
I think that's the plan.
Are we trying to just get to them taking on Kang? And when it's time and multiverse and stuff like that, I know we had to put it in a situation where like, hey, they won't be able to deal with this, right? But I'm like, who the fuck can deal with this? It's literally like nothing that they can do, and I'm trying to like the Secret Wars is such a weird comic event that it feels to me like it can only happen in comics. That make it make sense to me in live action. I don't understand how they're going to do that.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm a little lost, and there's too many entry points to the multiverse, and I need a one entry point and one baddie, and just kind of like slowly walk me down there, not just give me like, I feel like everything's branched out in so many directions. I don't know how they're going to get it back to.
And you're right, because you get the government spy aspect of it when you have Falcon and Winter Soldier and
we haven't thought about them in so long.
And Black Widow, right? So you have that part, and then you have like the cosmic and space and all this other stuff, and with Eternals,
right,
and all that, and then you have the time when it comes to Doctor Strange and Loki and all that. So you have these 3 different things going on.
There's 3 things that you could be doing as its main bad, and there's like not one of them focused here.
And not one of them tie to each other.
Yeah.
Not even Hawkeye. None of Moon Knight. None of these things
Doctor
are
Strange's
trying to
multiverse is technically different from Loki's multiverse. His is just like, hey, there's other dimensions. His is different timelines, and I'm like, so it's like even the things that are supposed to be the same are different.
Right, but I'm talking about that. That's what I mean. Like like Moon Knight has. There's nothing. There's no tie to anything on that. So I'm curious to see what She-Hulk's going to be like.
It's like, are we setting up 2 different type of, and maybe that's what they're doing, is set up 2 different type of Avenger teams that maybe Falcon will lead a more ground-focused Avenger team, and then maybe Thor will, they won't make Thor a leader, but who else do we have? And they won't make the Guardians a leader. Who else? Doctor Strange can lead the more of the cosmic Avenger force, right? And maybe that's what they want to do. It's like, hey, we're setting up 2 different teams, and there's been multiple Avenger teams, so it's like, I get it. So if that's what they're doing, that's fine, but it is confusing.
All right. Well, we look forward to whatever is coming our way, obviously. Black Panther 2 is next. That's the next one on the MCU slate, so we'll see how that goes.
How does that tie to the multiverse?
Yeah.
We're bringing back Killmonger.
Is Killmonger Black Panther?
Is Killmonger back?
Yeah, I don't know.
They missed an opportunity to do that in Doctor Strange. I don't know why they didn't do that.
Absolutely. Terrence, take us home.
All right, guys. So I know when you guys watch our reviews and you're like, damn, or as Art would say, when the review is longer than the movie. We didn't do that today because the movie was 2 hours, so we had plenty of time to do this review. But if you enjoy what we give you as far as reviews, make sure you watch the other stuff that we do on the channel. Make sure you subscribe as well as click the notification button so that way you're aware of all the other things that drop on the channel, as well as going to our merch shop at Teespring or on Amazon, which you can get shirts like this. Not this one. I hate this shirt. I have my only Thor shirt that I could wear. But you can get great shirts that we have on the design on the website. It really helps out the channel. And also go to our Patreon, patreon.com/thegoods, where you can donate anything up that will also help out the channel.
And we'd like to congratulate our former director Aspen on her new Dream Nails business.
All right.
If you are in the San Antonio area and need your nails done, ladies or guys, whatever, hit up Aspen and on Instagram at Dreams by Aspie. I think that's how
Dreams
that
by
goes.
Aspie.
I think can you read that, because I don't have my cheaters on.
Old. Link will be in description.
Aspen, we're proud of you and love you. For Aspen, Art, and Carla, we're over there at. I'm Manny.
I'm Terrence.
And we'll see you next time. You're definitely going to have to edit that.
Guys, you're still with us? Great. I know it's the end of the year, and I know you guys are in the holiday spirit, the spirit of giving, right? So we're asking you to give us money. So if you look down below, you'll see where it says patreon.com/thegoods. Right there is if you have an excess amount of cash laying around. If you have not bought enough Christmas presents and you're wondering, who else can I bring joy to this year? Us. That's who you can bring joy to. Have you ever looked at us and you're like, man, they should get a better camera? You're right, because we don't have enough money to. You can help us do that. Patreon.com/thegoods. Help us out. We'd appreciate it. And you can be a part of the goods yourself.